start. Hi, Klaus. Yeah, welcome to episode number 57.
Mhm.
And today it's about emergency lighting. We had a lot of emergency lighting episodes in the past. The last one was about the new 1838, and this was an episode in September last year, where we yeah, describing what is new in the new 1838, the most important emergency standards in Europe. And yeah, we told you in this episode all the differences between the old and the new 1838, but it's almost a year ago. That's why we need or we should tell you what is the difference. And Klaus, what is
Yeah,
the main difference?
yeah. Maybe first
Yeah.
today we will not repeat a complete episode from September, but we also want to demonstrate we are shortly before we publish a new version, which includes the new version of emergency lighting. And today we want to present you the beta version of this. And the biggest difference between the old and the new standard is that on the escape routes, not longer the major requirement was the illuminance, the minimum illuminance on the center line of an emergency route. Now it is the complete surface. In the old one, we have one lux on the center line, and on the half of the emergency route, not um, not less than the half. That means 0.5 lux. And from now we have on the complete surface the level of 1 lux. This is the standard.
Yeah, exactly. So the rest of the standard is quite the same. So we have anti-panic areas, which is the same at zero point 0.5 lux minimum. We have also the high risk areas. So the let's say the task areas in emergency situations. This is also the same. We have some more specific requirements and descriptions for something like swimming pools and toilets and so on. This is also good and interesting. So this is in general an improvement of the standard. And today is the focus on showing you how it's implemented in Relux Desktop. So honestly, the basic idea of this episode was to that you are already having these features on your Relux Desktop. So we are planned to have you the release of this, but we are a bit behind our time schedule, so we can just show you the beta in this episode, and hopefully we'll have it in the next, let's say, 2 to 3 weeks, because we have at the moment an beta test running or launching, not an open beta test this time, and half open closed beta test with some selected beta testers. And and so we show you just this beta version, but it will be the release version soon. And also honestly, it's not really complete. So we have found some bugs on it, and this we need to iron out. So we need to solve this before we release this stuff. But it's enough to show you. But please be patient if not everything works well. We had also one slide situation this morning in the German version, but we are hopefully better prepared now in the English version to demos as well. But you will see the concept, and the concept has changed of emergency light, specifically according to the standard. And this is important to see and to understand. And also then, if you have the release, the major release, then you know what to do and what to set in terms of this new 1838. Okay, so something more to tell? No. So maybe if you want to see the just an episode just about the new standard of emergency lights, then check out episode 49. This is important. And if you in general want to have an episode about emergency lighting in general. Also, we will not show all the emergency lighting features. We just show you what is new in relation to the new standard. If you want to see a full episode of a complete walkthrough of the emergency lighting, this is episode 7. This is 4 years ago. But in this episode, you will see the functionality of our emergency lighting in Redux Desktop. And also, if you are interested in Revit, this is episode 31 from 24. And this is also just Revit and emergency lighting. Because in Revit, you can also do the same emergency lighting with our products, ReluxCAD for Revit. In this, you can also do emergency lighting in a similar way of we can do it here in ReluxDesktop. Okay, so so let's jump in. So we share our screen and demo. 1 second. Yeah, this one. So now you see our beta version of ReluxDesktop, and here we start with a new room and show you how it's about the new integration. Okay, it's open up in another screen, no problem. Oh, now we have it on the screen. So of course we want to start a new project. In this new project, of course, we need a room. This room is a bit of too tiny for an emergency, so we need to expand this to something like, no joke, 20 meters is not complicated for an emergency situation. This is more or less, we can cover it with 2 luminaires today with this efficient LED escape route luminaires specific for the situation. And yeah, first of all, if you want to jump into emergency, just a short reminder, you need to have an emergency object in it. So an emergency surface is the shortest thing, but of course, I guess it's also working if you just have an emergency luminaire in it. But mainly you're starting with an emergency object. And just also a short recap out of our episode 7 is here the anti-panic areas with different shapes, rectangular, circular, polygonal. So this is an area for let's say you have a bigger crowd or a bigger room, and people need to find from these areas the way to an escape route. And also, of course, we have the escape route. I guess this is the most important object, and also verticals to have a minimum illuminance level on vertical stuff at the wall. So most popular is the fire extinguisher, but also some alarm switches, whatever, or an health kit or whatever. So some any stuff which you can need in an emergency should having a specific value. I guess it's 5 lux. I'm not 100% sure. You need a couple of lux on the surfaces vertically. This is also in place. And also the high-risk areas. Again, this is task area, but with in relation to the original tasks. So here we need to have enough luminance, for doing down the operations. So, for example, heavy machinery. If you have something like this, you need to have, I guess it was 10 or 15% of the original one in a case of emergency. So if you have 300 lux in a normal situation, you need to have 30, maybe 40, 45 lux. I need to check it in 1838. Okay, then we have also a lot of emergency signs, and also then relation to the ReluxNet. In ReluxNet, you found some 3D models of fire extinguishers, alarm knobs, and all this stuff. Okay, so let's do an emergency route, because this is the standard case, and this is also the case which has changed. So this emergency route has changed in concept from the 2019 version of 1838 to the 24th version. So the way to create an escape route is still the same. So we not touch the way of creation an escape route. Of course, you also have with the new standard, you not need to have this middle line. So we not anymore estimating and calculating. We calculate, but we not needing this in relation to the standards to have values on the middle line. So we do not need to check and compare to the standards the middle line. The middle line is a way in terms of evaluation, but in terms of creating an escape route, this is still the best way to create an escape route. You can do something like this, the most direct way to the exit, and you have just a line. So you create the escape route like in line, like this, and then you have the width of the escape route is added. This is in parameter here down below of the escape route. We have here 2 meters of the escape route, but you can also say I want to have 3 meters or something else, and then it's changed here and also the way of changing it is also the same like before. So it's not changed. It's feels like home. The major issue is, and for this example, okay, I can that example. Let's do an straight one. Yeah, this is more or less straight still, and the major. No, this is a bit of annoying. Let's create a new one. A new escape route to see the difference. Wrong button. Escape button too early. So yeah, and let's see if you have placed an escape route or another emergency object, then you have here the ribbon element emergency. This is what I want to show you. This was not there before, and emergency is for free, so it's not something you need a license for. It's not something which you need to do something. You just need to place one emergency object, and then you have this ribbon element here. And this ribbon element has changed now. So this looks a bit of different like in the past. Some new elements, some older elements are going away to make it more modern. And the first and new button, and one of the most important buttons, is the standard. Because now it's possible to select a different standard. So in the past, it was the case if you placed an emergency object, an emergency area, then you get a dialogue, and you were asked, okay, what is the case? Is it according 3038 according to the Italian uni standard or to the European standard? The Italian have, I guess, instead of 1 lux, they have 2 lux minimum, something like this. But also, I'm not 100% sure. And this difference you're getting asked in the dialogue, and then you're hitting it OK, and then everything was according to this. So there was not in switch or in standard selection for emergency. And because we want to keep also the old 2019 version of the EN38 also in the application, because maybe you have an older project or you want to make a lighting design and calculation according to the old standard. For what reason? You have, again, you have an old project, or you are in another country outside Europe, and this guy wants to relate to the 2019 version. Then you have still the way to do it like in 2019. And this is why we need the switch. And here behind this, you have this emergency setting dialog, and here you can select between the new, the old, and also the Italian versions, the uni versions of this with a slightly different minimum illuminance on the escape route. And yeah, and here you have also, in addition, an option to change these values. So for example, if you want to have not 1 lux minimum, you want to have a half a lux or 2 lux, whatever. If you are in Italian and not have this option, then you can switch it here to something else. So this is also possible to change for the user. The default is according to standard. And then you can apply, and then you have the new standard available. And or you can go and switch it back and apply. And this is also an effect on the middle line and so on. You can't see it at the moment, but if we making this this escape route a bit wider, because we have also a new way of, let's make it 3 meters, to a bit above. It's not fitting in. The room is too. I need to switch off the grid to show you the lines. Yeah, now this is better. Yeah. It's maybe too huge. Is it 3 meters? It's 6 meters now. Oh, it's too much. 4 meters is nice. Okay, good. We need to talk about some changes in the escape route in general. So the escape route we are still on the old one. We are on the old one. Okay. In the old 1838, we have the situation that we having the middle line. So the middle line is most important. The 1 lux minimum should happen on the middle line. And also the diversity 1 to 40 is also happening on the middle line. And here we have the half the width of the escape route, the half of it still have to have in this area 0.5 lux, right?
Yes,
Yeah.
but there is a small issue behind it, because according to the real 2019 standard, it was not allowed to create an emergency kit. So the width
Right.
of the escape route is limited to 2 meters. But for that reason, the switching was too difficult. So for that reason, we have now the possibility to also use the old standard according to the center line and the half of the width to the half of the illuminance for wider escape routes. So, but if you really want the old, then don't do it.
Yeah, exactly.
Really,
This is also one of the major changes. In the old one, there was a limit to 2 meters, as Klaus told us. This is absolutely right. So it means if you have 4 meter, you need to have two times meters.
to escape
Yeah,
through.
two
So
escape routes, yeah.
that's the way it was written in the past.
Yeah.
And this has now changed to
This
that
has now
it's
changed.
because we have now that the surface will be evaluated.
Yeah.
And it is, if you have a wide of, for example, of 3 meters, total of 3 meters, then you can reduce at the side from 2 meter, half on each side to 1 meter, reduce it. So 2 meter area left, which needs to be evaluated and checked for the minimum, which should at least 1 lux.
Okay, and I just show you what happens if we switch to the new standard. By the way, we have also 1 lux minimum. So from the values, nothing has changed.
Yeah.
So the values are the same, 1 lux minimum. But where? And now you maybe have seen that we have now a bit of a wider area for the values, for the calculation, for which is needed to have 1 lux minimum. Again, the midline is not really there. The midline is still there because, again, we like to draw this on the midline, the escape route still. But this is not an evaluation anymore. Now it's about this area. And this area is, we have still the same 4 meters width of the escape route, but now we have half a meter of some kind of like a wall zone, like an offset to the border. So this is also in the standard. In the standard, we have now half a meter from each side, except if it's too small. This was in percentage value. This is also built in. So if you are too small, you're having less than half a meter. But if you have more than 2 meters, up from 2 meters, everything is half a meter fixed. And this is something which is changed and which makes this area bigger. So we have more area for having 1 lux minimum. And this is kind of challenge for the luminaires, but also challenge for the designers to be aware of this. And yeah, and this is a way to show you the rest of the new features. So this was, again, we can also here now also add more areas. This button here is a nice one. If you're having a large industry hall, if you have a large compound, and if you want to have, and if you have continuous lines or whatever, you have hundreds of luminaires, and you want to having specific luminaires and in your emergency situation. And this with this feature, with this E button, you can select single luminaires and tell the luminaires you are inside the emergency, you are activated in terms of emergency graphically. So you can select which kind of luminaire needs to be in my emergency situation. So if you have an escape route in a bigger hall, then you can say, okay, the luminaires of my continuous lines, which follows the escape route, needs to be included in the emergency situation. This is a nice graphical feature. Also, an older feature is not new. It's still working. We have not the time to demo. Of course, also most important is the luminaires. You have it here, and we need to select a couple of luminaires to show you the effect. And here we have we prepared, or we set it up, or we selected some emergency luminaires. There are some, or a lot of manufacturers have some specific emergency luminaires as a product group. And here we have different luminaires, and we have a floor. And for the floor, we need something like this, maybe like this. This is maybe applicable. Then also one interesting part not all the manufacturers marked the luminaires in the product data as an emergency luminaire. This means you need to select in the product sector the luminaires to an luminaire for use for emergency only. Like in this case, this is a luminaire just for emergency, or a luminaire which can be used in emergency and the normal artificial lighting. And then it's really important to set the luminous flux for emergency, as you potentially know. And also here, this can be set, but this makes no sense to make in split because you have just one. And then this is an emergency luminaire, but be aware you need potentially click here to set this luminaire to an emergency luminaire. If you forgot this, you can also do this here with a right click, edit emergency setting, and then you can doing it here again. Also, we want to replace this button. This should be the old button, this gear wheel, where you can also do this setting with one click, because this is most important to say, okay, luminaires included, excluded, have a different flux. You can set the luminaires to different emergency fluxes, and then you can change it here. So this is one, and then we have auto placing, and auto placing follows some rules which are mathematically. So we are calculating the distance of luminaires according their LDC in a graphical geometrical way. Also, we can show you. This is now this button. But just temporarily. So it's this button is then if we're having the emergency settings, if we are in the settings, we have here this planning aid. It's also decades old, this button. But in the past, we have just this part. And now we have extended this planning aid to the new standard. And you can also select different standards for this planning aid tool. With some options for also minimum for anti-panic. Anti-panic is new, so this means we're having the amount or the distances of luminaires which are needed to cover with, here in this case, half a lux, the complete area. Because this is just direct part in emergency lighting. We have not an indirect part, we have just direct part. This means we have the LDC. We know in which angles we have half an lux or 1 lux, and with this geometric object of the LDC in a specific height, we can just calculate what is the distance needed in order to cover the area completely. And this is fast because it's just geometry calculations, not a real lighting calculation. It's just LDC geometry based, but this makes it lighting fast. And you can have it according to the new standard, which is the complete area. The width of the escape route here, you can also change the width of the area to something. So if I make it wider, then we potentially need more luminaires or less distance, more luminaires. And also you can switch to the old standard, and you can see, okay, in the old standard, now we're having the middle line in the calculation, and then you need even less distance between them because we just focused the middle line. And the middle line was also more easy to calculate, by the way. So this distance planning aid tool, if you have just the middle line, it's really easy to select the angles of the LDC and the C planes, which is down to the middle line. So that's why this was a bit of a challenge to make it for an area, but with the area we also have now the anti-panic areas. Okay, this is a nice tool, and I show you this in a bit of detail because this is also available as a web service of RELUX. So this is an API and web service which we offer for manufacturers, and they can using these values to create distance tables, and provide these distance tables on websites to describe their emergency products a bit of better. I have here an example of our newest customer on this, and this German company sells emergency luminaires, and here you have this emergency distance tables, and where an lighting designer or an electrical installer can see, okay, in the mounting high, it's German. I guess I can switch it to English. Okay, let's go with Australian English. Okay, I'm off. Sorry, let's keep it in German. It's just about the numbers, not about the names. Okay, you have here the distances between the luminaires in different orientations. So this means here, this friend is called an upper lens and high lens, high bay lens, where you have here mounting height, let's say up to 15 meters, maybe more, but here you have not any space to the wall anymore. I would be careful. But this is an lens for high, and if you have a distance of 5 or 13 meters in a lower installation, it's also going a bit of up to 20 meters if you have the right height, the right spot. And if you have a floor lens for covering a floor, so you can see here up to 30 meters in 5 meters height. But if you have a normal room of 3 to 5 meters, 3 to 4 meters maybe, then you have still 25 meters in distance between the luminaires to cover one lux on the floor. I guess this is still middle line here, but we need to check it out. The API can be switched between old and new, middle line or area approach. And you can also see here the orientation of the luminaire is most important for the distance. If we have this floor luminaire with looks like in street lighting luminaire in the LDC, yeah, it makes no sense to flip this. You need to have the proper installation orientation. And also the same for anti-panic areas. And this, that's why I showed you, it's the same like we have it here. So you have this tool also in ReluxDesktop for free, and you can do here your calculations and take these values and put it in the table, and you have the same. But also, if you are a manufacturer of emergency luminaires, this is maybe a nice tool for data sheets or websites, yeah, to announce this. It's also an old web service we have. It's also decades old, but we also updated this tool to the new standards and also enhanced it with anti-panic areas. Okay, enough of this. Yeah, and this is exactly the same what we are doing with this auto placement. If we're hitting here the auto placement button, we need to select an escape route. And for this escape route, it's also not a new feature, it's an old feature. But new is here the dialog. In the past, you're just getting the luminaires directly on the escape route. Now you have an option to select again the standard, according to which standard you want to auto place the luminaires, the orientation, of course. And also you can change here mounting height. Maybe you not have the mounting height of the room itself. It starts here with the room height, and also changing the values if you like. And then it's placed the luminaires according to this distance tool. And we see here 2 of these friends are enough for this floor. Maybe we switch on the LDC so you can see it. Yeah, this is classical floor emergency, and imagine you flip it around, then it really makes no sense for the situation. Let's see if we have live results. We have live results, and yeah, live results is a nice feature to see everything is green, everything is minimum 1 lux in a rough way. So this is directly calculated on the graphics card, but this is a nice tool to see, okay, all the area which I need is covered. Yeah, or not.
No, the thing is, you're moving the luminaires at the moment,
yeah,
but the graphics of the LDC shape will not change. So this is
okay, yeah,
this
yeah.
is
this is weird.
I really realized this just in this moment that
yeah.
But we are moving the luminaires, but the update was not.
Let's check out in 3D.
I guess it's the same. You will only have if you move the.
Where are the luminaires? Also one interesting bug.
Yeah, that's really.
Not existing. Here on the ground. Okay. But now, okay, yeah, okay, yeah, it's but yeah, it's yes. The same. Let's see. Yeah, it's the same.
It's the same, but if you now click, then at that moment the LDC display will be adjusted.
It's also interesting that results are faster than the LDC.
Yeah.
Again, this is a beta state. This is usual for us to discuss something like this, and yeah. And you're welcome to observe this, how we, checking out something like this. So, okay, what we else have? We have the live results, we have the auto placement. What I want to show you is how this changed, how this autoplace, how this amount of lumina, the area we cover, is changing. And for this, I have another example, because this is not easy to replicate, and it's also not. That's the other one. It's also not a good design. So I have here an example with an 4 meters width of an escape route. This is, again, according to the old standard, not possible. According to the new standard, it is from the standard possible. And also the lumina shape, the lumina LDC you can see is something which is not for an escape route. This is an LDC for an anti-panic area. But this is a nice example to show you what is the difference about the old and the new, and where you have to be aware of the new emergency standard. So this is the situation for the new standard, so 0.5 meter. I also switch off here the grid in order to see better the lines. Also something we potentially need to improve, the contrast of the screen lines. And now we have a calculation with 4 luminars for the new standard. And if we switch back to the old standard, to the middle line approach, then of course this is shrinking in, and you can here update the auto placement. And if I update auto placement, we are reduced to 3 luminars. So with 3 luminars, again, it's an anti-panic lumina and it's too wide and so on, but it's a good demonstration. What has changed? We have here now the middle line approach, and with the middle line, we doesn't care about the results here in the top corner. This is now yellow. This means we are below 1 lux, and we need to have just a half of lux.
Yes, but just to the inner light. At the moment, we have a little bit. The area is too wide. I guess when you press calculate, or refresh the live results.
But you have seen here the yellow one.
Yeah, this was. There's this small update problem by switching from the old standard to the.
But it was good to see the yellow.
Yeah, it's good to see that it's existing and that it is working. Yeah. The problem in general will be a little bit that you have, according to the new standard, you maybe need more luminous than according to not in any case, because in many cases you have enough area around, but in generally there may be you need more luminous than the other.
Or at least you need also be aware of the LDC, so the LDC can cover more width and not just the middle line. So some really specific luminars for hallways, which can be to 30 meters, are really focused on the middle line. And these luminars maybe fail if the escape route is too wide and needs some more covering on the outer parts, where we have also the 1 lux minimum requirement in the outer parts. This is something
I guess changed. Also it will be a little bit a challenge for the manufacturers to adjust their luminars according to this.
Not impossible. And again, for this case, we needed to find an not correct lumina, but this is one situation where you need more luminars for the new standards and less luminars for the old standard. In general, you can discuss with this better, of course, in higher value, or in higher minimum value according a bigger area is for the user, for the situation better. Of course, more light is better in these situations. We have a wider area which is covered with minimum 1 lux. This is a benefit for the users, but of course something where you need to invest more into luminars, and where you as a designer needs to be aware of the situation. But I guess if you are seen it once, then it will be easy to handle this. Maybe you need to change the lumina to something more adequate. Okay, if you have a narrow area, this is nothing really changing much. So I just jumping back to show you the outprint, because this is also changed a bit. But okay, for the outprint, not the live results are enough. I need to have a real calculation of this. This means I need to click here, and now I have the real calculation. And with the real calculations, I have also a real result. And in this result, it looks like the old one, but here we have now the area. If you're having the old standard, you have here the central line and also the values for central line and this half area here. And in green, you see, okay, everything is well. Also, the diversity is also now for the complete area. This means this 1 to 40 requirement is also for the complete area and not just the middle line. In the old standard, it was just the middle line, yeah, which is more
min
easy.
max,
Yeah.
the ratio between min and max, yeah, on the center line.
Exactly. Diversity. Okay. This is more or less all what we want to show you.
I guess we have also a little.
And also the time is
all the time is
fast.
the time
Okay.
is that we can take a look to the
questions. To the questions, yes. So where to? I stop the sharing and put off the questions. Okay, here's one guy with a lot of questions. Let's start. Hi, Robert and Klaus. In the emergency calculation results page, sometimes the result is good, more than 1 lux, but the fine print say lower than 1 lux and the whole line shows red. I understand this in do a finer calculation at the corners, but why does it need to be considered? How can these two results align? A really good question.
We
have discussed it also in preparation of this.
Yeah,
the grid is the issue.
The grid is the issue. Yeah. The problem is a little bit when you are in the emergency case, and we're talking about safetiness and about and all the things. And if you imagine, if, for example, if we use the normal grid standard, for example, which is used in interior or in exterior lighting, it will be allowed to make a grid distance of, let's say, more than 5 meters between the grid points. But in the emergency case, you have all the time the situation that a person who walks should be safety walk leaving an area. And if you then just check points which are 5 meter distance, for example, it may be possible that you between these 2 points you have values which are really lower than the values you have checked. And for that reason, we have implemented this. In the background, we're using a fine calculation. Sometimes when we print out tables or something like that, you have so many points that it will not longer be possible to print all points. So for that, we're printing a reduced table. And then in some situation, it may happen that the critical points are not shown in the result. So that was the problem and the reason. But we have reduced this restrictive way a little bit. So that it should not happen so often, yeah, that's a little bit of the problem of the point.
The issue is maybe we need also to check this in the better phase is the communication that we communicate this right. The minimum value for us is something which is not on the grid. Of course, you see in the table the grid or one grid. Also, there is this is also maybe an interesting change in the standards. The old EN 38 2019 has not any description of grids or measurements or something. In the new standard, there is in the annex as informative the logarithmic standard grid, which you have also in the 12464 and also in the outdoor situations. You have this as an informative part in the annex for measurement on site. But we are not happy with this because this is something where you can really mess up. So imagine you have a long corridor, a long floor with 20 meters or something. The logarithmic grid points, we have really meter distances between this in this formula. Yeah. And if you have 1 meter of distance and you have fast 1 point or one situation where you have below 1 lux in situation. And the standard in the normative part is still telling you there should be 1 lux minimum, and not where, not on which grid points or on how many grid points. This means everywhere. And if you do on-site and measurement, we would recommend just to create a grid and calculate this once. You should also check the darkest spot on the surface, between 2 luminars or on the corners. And if you have a value below 1 lux, then it's not okay. You need to have 1 lux minimum, and the informative grid it's just an informative. If you're getting lost, of course you can have a finer grid on something, and we have internally, we have a lot of more grid points as we show and bringing up to the user. There's tons of results, and we're using all we have. So we really have the minimum down to the calculation elements we have down below the surface. And this is, but this is in way of communication. We need to mark these values to fine grid. I guess we have something like this also in the past, fine grids and not the regular grid. And yeah, and we should keep it this way.
Yeah, sometimes it's a little bit hard to understand that we have that we want to show a fine grid, but at least you must imagine what the person, when they will verify, when they are really measuring the situation, where will they measure? Will they measure at a darkest spot, or will they still say, no, I measure every 5 meters and doesn't take care if there is a dark area or a bright area? I'm close to sure that they will go a point between two luminaires where the darkest place is, and there they will measure and check if they have 1 lux.
Yeah. It's also not needed to have a regular grid on immersion situation, because you do not have a uniformity. The regular grid, so the equal distance according to the logarithmic approach, is that you can also calculating uniformity well. But we have not a uniformity requirement. We have a diversity, minimum maximum.
Minimum maximum or the minimum?
Yeah, a minimum maximum. So the diversity value where there is a requirement, and the minimum can happen on all the points. So directly you can really take all the points or random points or in grids and or multiple grids. So it doesn't care about the uniformity. There's also one difference according to the 12464. Okay, but this is it will keep an issue, but we need to communicate this better to have it. Okay, next question. Is there any emergency signage, active illumination, not passive illuminated by other lumina in RELUX? For example, to change the light emitting surface on the exit signage. And also, should this illuminating signage contribute to the result of the emergency lighting results? I guess we have the combination of lumina.
The combination is existing, but this is at that point you have a luminaire which must come from a manufacturer, from the database or something like that.
Yeah, you cannot do it yourself.
You cannot do it by yourself. You must place an emergency sign and additionally a luminaire behind it. For our manufacturers, for our member, it is possible to create a luminaire which is both.
Yeah, but if you're speculating for the let's say just the signage which have a bit of spill light out of it, yeah, it needs to be in a LDC. So we need to have it in an Oilemblatt or IAS file properly, and we cannot just taking spill light out of an potentially more or less Lambertian distribution out of a normal sign into calculations. Also, you should not do this. It needs to be stated as also an active lumina for the situation. Just be happy if you have some spill light on site as an addition, but not building on it. Yeah. Okay, when it comes to stairs in emergency lighting, what is the easy way to create a calculation planes? It is through the 3D row function or in single slope plane to do the job.
This is one. Yes, there are some solutions which are possible actually, but this is still a point which we have on our planning list to create also measuring surfaces that are not flat, because we need for especially for sports lighting or something like, we need curved measuring surfaces, and for emergency lighting and some other issues where a measuring object where the points are not on the same level, so we can easily create measuring points on the stairs. So that the points inside of the measuring object will have different levels. At the moment, this is not possible, but we have it on our feature list to create such
to create some curved planes. Yeah.
Some curved.
In short, both is possible. You can do in single slope plane. It's possible. You need to be aware of the orientation of the direction. So yeah, from where the light comes, and also in function where you duplicate single areas is also possible. I would do a group of measuring grids on all the stairs and making a group out of single elements and having then a value for all the surfaces on all the stairs. Yeah, like on the normal calculation. There's also one staircase episode, episode 30. This is the staircase episode. Maybe you check this out. I will do emergency exactly like for artificial normal stuff. Okay, there's more questions. I just jump over this one guy with the first 10 questions. Sorry, just to having also other questions allowed. Here's one. Can we create new symbol for emergency lumina, not those available in Relux by default? I guess not simply.
We don't know exactly what you mean with symbol for the emergency lighting. You are talking about the screen error. For members, there is a possibility to do this.
Okay.
Maybe we can think about it to publish this. The possibility. Yeah. The small person who is running on the green sign. So by this
the sign symbol.
is there is a possibility. Please write us your request to support@relux.com. To support@relux.com, and we will discuss with our persons from the sales team. So maybe we can put we give this information outside for some specific planners.
Okay, then we have here at latest revision of Relux. After the emergency calculation, when exported the lighting design to CID, the luminas that are emergency will not show emergency E on the CID export.
Okay, if this is the case, it would be a bug. We will check it and fix it.
Good. Yeah. So also in AutoCAD, you should see the.
Yeah, there is. I know it worked in the past, so maybe
bug. Okay. I guess this is the last question. We can see emergency luminas at a Relux file, but
I guess this is the
same.
Yeah. I guess this is the same.
Good. Thanks for your feedback. It's important. We are not aware of this situation, but I guess it's really important to know also in the CID where's the emergency ones. It will be hard to redo if this is not possible. Okay, then maybe one finally last question from the beginning. Will there be a function for two individual emergency calculations? This is scenario 1, operation, everything at 100%. 2, emergency, CBS only, EM at 100%. 3, escape, no CBS, only EM at 10%. So for multiple scenes of emergency, in a way, in short, I interpret this in this way. At the moment, not. At the moment, you have just one emergency situation on each scene. But we having with the sports update, with our last major release, you having light scenes in place, but not for emergency.
But not for emergency lighting. Maybe you can also write us what is exactly your intention. At the moment, it's a little bit hard to understand because normally you have the emergency situation is one fixed situation.
Yeah, also hard to imagine why we need to have multiple emergency situations.
Yes, because in my understanding, the emergency situation is mainly for escape routes and any panic is to leave the building in an emergency case. And you have to, this lighting situation, if the emergency case happens, then you have to run these situations according to your to 1 hour or something like this. For this is important for the batteries or for the
but maybe you have different emergent situations according to the situation, that you maybe need to escape in this direction or in that direction.
Yes, but our
different signage.
in my understanding, it should not change. It will be you have to at least you have
maybe the
one.
signage just needs to switch or something. That's the type of emergency maybe could.
Okay.
I
Yes.
don't know,
However,
yeah.
please, please, this is not in this format. It is not possible to start a discussion. But please write us your intention, what you have, and then we can give you a more detailed answer to this.
So technical light scenes are, you can already play with light scenes, so different lighting situations for one scene with the light scenes. We will extend this light scenes, so it will be more handy. Now it's you can smell it's for sports for the different classes, but it's we will be update to something that's more handy and more let's say you can better check what is the situation in this scene, which lumina is active and not, with which level and so on. And this is, let's say, the technical base to do this also for emergency. You can also do this. You can also calculate emergency in a normal situation, but then you need to be aware of reflection degrees, just direct path, and so on. That's not recommended to do this, but it's possible theoretically, and also for us it would be technically possible to do this also for emergency. But with a lot of UI changes, then you need to be aware in which scenario I am for emergency and in which scenario I am for the normal operation. So this is something, we need to think about from an UI and UX user experience situation, not to really be confused what is going on with this, but possible. In a nice inspiration, Okay, and now the time is really up. There are some thanks also for your attention. Again, it will take minimum 2, maybe 3 weeks, maybe more if we find a lot of more stuff to fix before we launch the release to you, but this will look like this in the release, and hopefully you can do the best emergency lighting with it, especially in UK. I know we got a lot of emails from you that you need this as fast as possible. We understand, but you have seen the current situation, and it's not perfect, but it will be okay. Thanks much.
Thank
you. Sorry, we need to tell you about the next episode. Next episode is the 58 at the 18th of June. So soon. Again, same time, also Thursday. And the topic is unregular measurement grids. So measurement grids which are not regular, which are uneven with the background spots, but also maybe for emergency. It has also some relation. So how to do unregular measurement grids from, let's say, from the user interface perspective, how I can bring different points to my situation. And also, we need to tell you that we skip the July episode. So last year we skipped the August episode because it's summertime, the viewers going low, and we also have vacation time here in Switzerland. So we skipped the July episode, but in August we are back with an episode. I've not it on my list, but it's also fixed in the date and so on. But for June, the next one is 18th of June. See you then. Thanks for being with us. See you soon.
See you soon.
Bye-bye.
Bye.